Hey everybody, I am logging in a few minutes late. Sorry, because I was playing with the filters because I felt like I had a filter on. No, it is just a little bit of extra grease because I was out in the sun today. All right, so I'm excited to see where everyone is tuning in from today because I know that I've gotten some flack from people the last couple of weeks and like, oh my gosh, Franny, you get started so quickly and we don't have time to do anything. So I want you to do me a favor and I want you to tune in and let me know where you're tuning in from down below. And then what I'm gonna do is I'm actually gonna share this onto my Franny Vols page because many people are saying that they don't often know where to find me and how to find me. I'm like, it's on Shine with Franny. I tell you that 42 times, but hey, you know what? We're just gonna make it something for everybody here. So anyways, let me know where you're tuning in from. And then the second thing I want you to do is I want you to let me know if you've ever had a question asked of you that has changed your life. And if you don't want to type it in there, I just want you to think about it. And you might be thinking, oh yeah, of course, like, will you marry me? Yeah, that's a pretty easy one. Like, I'm going to say, yeah, it's most people, that changes your life, right? Do you want to have a baby? Change your life. Do you have a will? Changes your life. A lot of these kinds of things can change your life. And so I'm going to share with you today a story about how my life was forever changed by someone that I met. And it was a really random thing. Okay, I'm sharing it live. I'm just getting it right here. Okay, now I have to turn it down. Okay, so, oh my gosh, Mylan is on. That makes me so happy. Mylan, tell us where you're tuning in from because I can't remember where you are in Cleveland. Okay, with that being said, I'm going to share this. Okay, so I'm going to tell you a little story and I'm going to get to the question here in a second. But I really want you to be thinking about your own life because the point of me sharing these stories or coming on Sunday nights is really to help other people, right? Like I can tell my story as long as the day is long, but it doesn't really matter if it doesn't help you. Hi, Steph. I'm so glad you are here too. Okay. So I'm going to start by just sharing a little bit. So it was 1997. I'm going to do a little Golden Girls here. Picture it. 1997, Winter Park, Bally's. Not a good sight. I had just moved here from from Pennsylvania, to Florida. And my stepdad had just died. Literally the night I graduated from college, my stepdad passed away. And my mom said, I still want you to move to Florida. So here I was, moved to Florida. And sure enough, I, at that point, had literally like tipped the scales at 300 pounds. Now, I didn't have the exact page, but I want to show you something because this was my original, like, from a year later. Not the very first time. These were, does anybody remember Bally's? Like these were their sheets, like that they took my height, my weight, my measurements, and like what were my goals, body composition. So anyways, I joined the gym because I was looking for friends and I had no clue like how I was going to get friends because I just moved here and I didn't know anyone. So I go to the gym and I'm on the second floor. It was great. It was this really nice, like really modern gym back in the day. Again, we're talking 97. Some of you weren't even born then, okay? So now I'm at this gym and the trainer, you know, the big beefy guy, and he's eating his broccoli and his brown rice and his chicken, 6 of those a day or whatever. And he's like, all right, we're going to get you set up on the treadmill upstairs. Now, mind you, I had not really been working out my entire life because like I just said, I was tipping the scales at 300 pounds. So I was like, I don't really know what this entails. So he like jacks up to 3 miles per hour. And I'm like, dude, you need to bring it down a notch, 3 miles per hour. I'm dripping sweat. Now, mind you, it's Florida in June as it is. So you could just stand there and not even inside of an air-conditioned place and you're dripping sweat. So now I'm on this treadmill. I'm going faster than a pace that I feel comfortable. And I'm wearing, you guys, I remember they were god-awful gray sweatpants because like first of all, I don't think they had like cute clothes back then. I shouldn't lie. I shouldn't say that. They did have cute clothes. They were for skinny people, okay? And that was not me. Because Jane Fonda was really popular in the 80s. And then this was now 10 years later, but there was no way in hell that I was going to be wearing spandex lycra. And give me a thumbs up if you remember spandex lycra, or if you even wore it. Or maybe you wore a terry cloth sweatband or leg warmers. Just saying. I mean, I'm just kind of putting it all out there for everybody. All right, so now I'm wearing these gray sweatpants, and they were the kind that were like elastic waist or elastic at the bottom, and they were just awful. And I had on like an oversized t-shirt that was like a 3XL, and I was just it was a bad sight. So I just remember he had gone downstairs at this point, and I remember literally like bursting out into tears, like, oh my gosh, this is so hard. And I was on the treadmill by myself, and there were all these people, and they were all like skinny girls, and they were like these beautiful gazelles, like, you know, running on the treadmill, like, hey, how are you? I'm like, I can't even breathe, let alone talk. Like, we are not talking right now. Hi, everybody. I'm so glad you're all here. And so they're all like, you know, they're all like talking to me, and they really didn't know my name, because let's just be honest. Like, I was like, this is a one and done. Like, I am coming in and I'm like on my way out. So anyways, you know, after he got me set up, he's like, well, on your way out, stop by downstairs and we'll get you set up. And I was like, I didn't really know what that means. I was like, I really had never been in a gym. And I was like, and this is the last of the likes you're going to see of me. So I go to the gym, you know, the locker room, and I get all my stuff, and I'm like trying to like inch past him. Now, let's just be honest. Okay, you guys, 300 plus pounds. I am like, oh my gosh. Like, at this point now, I'm just going to be very honest and a little graphic. My thighs were so chafed together that I was now bleeding. So now it looks like I have my period. Excuse me. If any of you who are watching and this is offending you, please know that's who I am. I say stuff like this all the time. So now, like, I have like these god awful, like, on fire thighs, and my inner thigh, and now my sweatpants are like pilled, and I'm like, oh my gosh, this is embarrassing. And you know, I really didn't date all through college or anything. And so this cute trainer guy is now like asking me to come down into his office. Now I'm like, oh gosh, what does that entail? So as he's eating his brown rice and chicken, and I'm like, and so I just like try to like slinch past him by the pool. I'm like, oh, he's not going to see me. That would be like a clown car of elephants. Like, no, like it was very obvious. Like, I was now trying to exit without him seeing me. So he calls me and he's like, hey, Franny. And I'm like, oh my gosh. And nobody knew me as Franny back then, just saying, because I was Fran in college and then I reinvented myself. So I was like, oh, clearly, like, oh. So I walk into his office, I'm like, hey, and I'm like, oh my gosh, can he see my legs? Is it gonna be on the chair? Like, I'm freaking out. So he's like, so how was your work? And I'm like, well, it was hard, you know, I'm like, I'm really not used to this. And he's like, so we're gonna get you on a plan and we're gonna get you on a schedule. Like, what are your goals? As I mentioned, like, he busts out like this sheet and he starts like writing things down. This is literally the original one, guys. Actually, this is not the original one. This was when I was 22, because the original one is with my Weight Watchers. I have like that little trifold board of Weight Watchers that I did when I was a 9th grader at 210 pounds. That's somewhere in my storage unit. I'll just be honest. But anyways, he's like asking me all these questions, and he's like, so what are your goals? I'm like, my goal is to breathe walking up the stairs. Like, let's just be honest. Like, I can't breathe on the treadmill, let alone walking up the stairs. So, you know, and I had never really come up with goals. Obviously, you know, at almost 300 pounds, like my goal was to eat as many Twinkies in one sitting as possible. Actually, my hostess of choice was Ho-Hos. Twinkies, no go. Anyways, so I was like, I don't really have any goals. And he was like, well, let's come up with some goals. Like, do you want to lose weight? Do you just want to get in better shape? Like, do you want to get muscle tone? I'm like, I don't really know. And so he like kind of kept on interrogating me. And this is the question. This whole entire video is all about, you guys. And there's a reason for this. And I want you to stay to the end, because I'm going to ask you questions about yourself. And this is not about weight loss at the end. So some of you who are still tuning in and still staying on, I want you to stay on until the very end, because the questions I'm going to ask you are not about weight loss. His question, and this can relate to you, and I'm going to tie it in here in a second. He said to me, okay, he did like one of those calibrated scales. Now, mind you, I really wasn't on the scales a lot at this point. In my life, I had done like Fen, I had done Denny Craig, I had done Weight Watchers, I had done Meals on Wheels. Like, I had, you name it, I had done the unique diet program, which is where like you took these wafers, you ate like 12 of them a day, and they were full of fiber. They were awful. So anyways, I had done pretty much anything under the sun, and obviously nothing was really working. So he does his little like weighing in, and I was like, I wanted to get naked, because of course I didn't want to have like anything as like a hair tie or a necklace on. And I was like, oh my gosh, he's going to know how much I weigh, and he's a guy, and it was just awkward. And he writes down on the form, 297 pounds. And he's like, okay. He's like, well, you're probably a little bit lighter because, you know, it is the afternoon. And he's like, you just worked out. And I was like, regardless, it's only a few pounds away from 300. I was like, all right. So I'm sitting there and I'm trying to like muster back tears, and I'm literally like, you know, salty. You know how you start to get like that feeling of like, oh my gosh, I'm going to cry, and like you're afraid to talk because you sound like Kermit the Frog. Let me know, give me a thumbs up if you've ever had that experience where you're like afraid to talk because, you know, you're going to cry and sound weird. That's how I was sounding. That's how I was feeling. So anyways, so I I say to him like, yeah, I need to lose weight. Like I get that I need to lose weight. And he's like, so what do you want to do about it? And I was like, I don't really know. Like can I still eat ho-hos? Like, I don't really know. Maybe I should just work out. So he says to me, well, let me paint a picture for you. He said, if you gain 1 pound every month for the next 5 years, he was like, so by the time you're 26 years old, at this point I was just 21. He said, if you gain 1 pound every month, you will be closer to 400 than 300. And I was like, what? Oh my gosh. And now at this point, like, I'm literally crying. Like, there was no fighting it back, and there was none. Because guess what? In my head, like, all of a sudden, I like just envisioned having to go to Joann Fabrics and buy like yards and yards of fabric and like literally cut a head hole and like armholes out. And like, I was gonna be wearing like a Mrs. Roper muumuu for the rest of my life. And then I envisioned myself like as the crazy cat lady with like 47 cats and like sitting around with my 2 best friends, Ben and Jerry. Oh, and Betty Crocker and Duncan Hines. So 4 best friends. That's how I like all of a sudden in my head, like I went fast forward to like the worst case scenario, which by the way, that's a whole other video I should do about like the worst case scenarios and why I do that and why we oftentimes do that. But anyways, I envisioned myself like, oh my gosh, I'm going to be 400 pounds. I'm going to be 25 years old, 26 years old. And I'm going to be in this terrible, terrible place. And he said, he recognizes I'm crying. And very visibly, he's like giving me, of course, at this point, like nobody wants to see a fat girl cry. Anyone cry, right? Especially a guy's like, oh my gosh, this girl's in my office. And he's giving me tissues and he's like, so, Franny, I see that you're feeling really, really saddened by that. And I was like, yes. I was like, thanks, Mr. Captain Obvious there. And he goes, so how do you feel about that? Weighing 400 pounds. And I'm like, are you kidding me? Are you, as he's like Mr. like a Hulk, like bulging out of his like shirt, like there was like a size extra small and he was like a size extra large. I was like, I don't know how they fit you for those clothes, but they should not be doing that. So I'm like bawling. And like I said, I already in my head was like, I'm never going to be married, but like literally like painted the worst case scenario picture in my head in 5 years. And that question, you guys, how do you feel about that? And the way that he painted that picture to me and for me made me literally stop in my tracks. And I was like, that's it. I was like, I'm done. I'm like, I am D-O-N-E, done. Caps lock on that one. Like, we are done. And so I literally went home that day and I'll be honest, I had probably stopped by and pick up a cake from Publix. I don't think I did that day because I was so like distraught. And usually like that was my MO. Like I would solve my problems by eating, right? Because that was something I could control. It was something I was in control of. I could tell when I ate it, how much I ate it, where I ate it. Like nobody could tell me anything. And that's a whole other video about control. So anyways, I went home and I literally cleaned out the pantry. I threw things away. Now I am not going to tell you that I'm perfect at this because I like to say, I'm writing a book right now, if any of you know, and this one whole chapter is called Living in the Solutions. Like, we oftentimes live in the solutions, like, you don't fully arrive 100% at a lot of these things. Like, if you think about an alcoholic, like, they go to AA because they're constantly being tempted. They're constantly having to renew their mind. They're constantly having to, fight off that temptation and stave off any of that, that appreciation for it, right? And so I like to say that I'm living in the solutions because I still sometimes, even though I've lost 100 and depends on the day, 25 pounds, like still there are times where I want to go and just eat cake. Like, and that's my go-to, my modus operandum. So anyway, so I went home that day and from that day forward, you guys, that was it. Like that was the line in the sand for me. It was like, I don't want to be closer to 400 than I do 300. And now I'm like, when I get close to 200, because there have been days like that. Okay. Mama said there will be days like that. And there have been. All right. But today, 175. All right, just saying. I don't care if y'all know how much I weigh. Anyways, with that being said, that was like it. Like I went and literally 125 pounds. Like I cold turkey on so many things. And I'm not saying this to brag. I'm certainly not saying this to be boastful. I am saying, if any of you know me, you know that it's only by God that I've been able to do it and maintain it. Like I had to surrender it over to him and like he has circumcised my heart and helped me to get to why did I eat? Where, what was I doing? What was it filling? What was the vice? He's totally like wrapped up around that. And so the same is true in a lot of addictions, that a lot of times that there are obviously other vices. There are reasons why you're doing it. But I want to make sure that somebody who's listening tonight, and again, this is not about weight loss. I want to make sure that if there's someone who's listening tonight, that you ask yourself, because I want you to have a takeaway. Every time that I share something, you guys, I always want, even if there's one person who's listening next week or next month, and you share this with someone, I want them to always be like, what about my own life, right? So I want you to think about like, in your current situation, so whether that's your current job that you hate, a relationship that you're in, a financial situation that you're in, I want you to ask yourself, like, what does it look like 5 years from now? Like if you are in that situation that you are not comfortable in, if you are not, feeling like it is where you are supposed to be, it's like part of your destiny, it's part of, a life that you want to live. My question to you is like, where will you be in 5 years if you keep up with your habits? If you keep going to Target every week and spending an extra $100, or if you keep going to Starbucks every single day and spending an extra $60 at the end of the week, like what is that going to look like? If you're in a relationship that is volatile, or you haven't forgiven someone in a relationship, like what does that look like in 5 years? How is that going to manifest in not only that one relationship, but all the others? Because I hate to tell you this, but oftentimes those things have domino effects. So with that being said, I really want you to think about that one area of your life that is not comfortable for you, that is not healthy for you, right? For me, it was physically, I was not healthy. And then I want you to ask yourself, where will I be if I keep up with this in 5 years? Where will I be if I hate this job and I absolutely hate it, I'm not making any money, right? Now, I am all for, like, if you're a missionary, hey, God bless you. Like, I will support you. You can send me your sponsor letter. I'll support you until the day is long. But I want you to think about, like, if you are in a thing that you don't feel like, it, Joyce Meyer says, don't live by your feelings. But you know that it is not what God's design for you is, right? So if you're a pole dancer, very different than missionary, okay? I'm just saying. So I want you to ask yourself, where will you be in 5 years if you keep this up? And the second question I want you to ask you is, what exactly do you want your 5 years from now to look like? Like I told you, in my head, I went down to like the Joann's fabric. Like all of a sudden I was wearing these crazy Mrs. Roper muumuus. And that's not what I wanted. I was like, I want to wear cute clothes. And like that back in the day, in 1997, like they didn't even have cute juniors clothes. Like now they're like really cute and trendy and things like that. Like I was shopping in the old lady section at Lane Bryant. Like no offense to Lane Bryant. But back in the day in 97, you guys, that's what I look like. Like people are always like, oh my gosh, you look so much older. I'm like, yeah, because I dress like a grandma. That's why I look old. And so give me a thumbs up if any of you ever felt like that, like where you feel like you're not necessarily like, which one of these things is not like the other? Like I was a 20-year-old girl, but I was dressing like a 45-year-old woman at the point, which I am now, not cutting that. So I want you to ask yourself, like, what do you want in this relationship? What do you want in your life? What do you want in this career, in your job? I want you to ask yourself that question, because once you identify, like, where will I be in 5 years? What exactly is it that I want, right? For me, I did not want to be, the 400-pound crazy cat lady shopping at Joann Fabrics. Like, that was my headspace. And I really thought that I was going to be alone and I'm not saying you have to be married because God only knows. Hello, still not. But what I'm saying is like, I envisioned like I would be completely alone, like ostracized from my family and friends, like excommunicated because I was like, tons of fun, which they called me actually in high school, tons of fun. And they sang the song Fat Fran. Actually, there are people I know who, it's crazy, but they sang a song. There was Batman. Do you guys remember Batman? And if you know it, give me a thumbs up. Na 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 Batman. Well, it was na 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 Fat Fran. And I just wrote about that in my book because I thought to myself, there are things that people say and things that people do that are forever with you, right? And I have to replace that thought. And guess what it is now? It's Fit Fran. How about that? Down on those boys who at Sharon High School Stadium were telling me Fat Fran, and they sang that song, and they would go boom ba dum ba dum ba dum as I walked up the stadium stairs. They were so mean. Kids are mean. Kids are really cruel, right? And so anyway, so I said that. So what do you want in your life? What will your life be like in 5 years if you continue this way? But what do you want your life to look like in 5 years? And then the third thing that I want you to say is, who can you help? And this is the most important part, you guys, because here's the thing. Once I lost weight, I vowed that I was going to be the person, because I used to go to those fitness classes and see those little Jane Fonda and those little like running gazelles who are like so beautiful, like, hey, like hardly sweating. Like right now I'm sweating like inside of my house that is air conditioned just because my metabolism gets going. Hey, not a problem. I'm burning calories while I'm talking to y'all. But what I'm saying is I vowed that I was going to go ahead and then go back and I was going to help people along the way on their weight loss journey, because I was the girl who stood in the very, very back of the classroom. Like, this was when step aerobics were really big. Give me a thumbs up if you're a step aerobics person. I know that there's somebody out there. So 1990s, right? Reebok step was all the rage. And so I would stand in the back and I was like, I am tripping over myself because I can't pick my foot up onto the step. And so I would stand in the back in my oversized t-shirt and everything. And I was like, I'm going to go back and I'm going to teach. And we know that in the Bible, it tells us, you guys, that there was Moses, there was Joshua, and then there was Caleb. And that Joshua learned from Moses and he was bringing up Caleb alongside of him. And that's exactly what we have to do as well, you guys. We have to have a mentor. We have to have a leader. For me, it was Gary. I ended up hiring him as my trainer and he helped me. He got me on, I was not eating chicken and broccoli. I will just be honest. I was, but I was not doing it exclusively. So with that being said, you guys, like, you need to be training someone behind you and mentoring someone behind you. And here's the other thing. Do not wait until you get there to start helping someone. Don't wait until you arrive, air quote. Start doing it where you are. Wherever you are in that current space you are in, help that person. Like I said, we are living in the solutions. So we have to help people along the way. We can't wait until we get there with our business or until we get there. And I talk about this in my book, you guys. And my mom went and had knee replacement surgery. And all of a sudden, she was like the expert. Like, literally, she got out and she's like, oh my gosh, you're going to love it. Like, she's telling the lady who's next to her in the bed next to her in the hospital. She's like, you're going to love it. It's going to be great. You're going to feel so good. And I'm like, you're one day out. Like, and she was, already at therapy and she was loving it. So, and it's the same thing. Like, if you think about a mom on your street who had a baby 2 weeks ago and you just had a newborn baby, that mama has 2 weeks experience that you don't have yet, right? How does this whole breastfeeding thing work? You're going to call that mom. Oh my gosh, this belly button, like, it's falling off. Like, what do I do? I mean, they tell you about the umbilical cord. I think they do. All right. So with that being said, like, how can you help that person that one step ahead of you? You don't have to be a master or an expert. The sensei, the word sensei, and I talk about this in my book, the word sensei means one who has gone before. You have gone before somebody in some area of your life that you can help them with. So it is your responsibility to go back and give back, right? So with that being said, that is my final thought, is who can you help along the way? So those are the 3 questions, is where are you going to be in 5 years if you stay in this place of discomfort that you're in, whether it be business, finances, relationship, whatever that looks like for you, your health, whatever that looks like. And then what do you want in this area? What do you want that dream to look like? For me, I was like, oh my gosh, like, I want to be active, like, and I do anything now. If you know me now, you guys, you know that I do anything and everything, because for 20 plus years, I'm not blaming anyone besides myself. It's no one else's fault. I chose the food that I ate. And so, but I didn't go water skiing. I didn't go snow skiing. I didn't go, all of those things that my friends were doing, I didn't do, because guess what? When I put those boots on, it cut off the circulation because my calves were like tree trunks. So with that being said, guess what? Now, any chance I get, I'm snow skiing, I'm snowboarding, I'm water skiing, I'm paddleboarding, I'm wakeboarding. Whatever I can do, I am doing it. Because for so long, you guys, I lived in that space of, I couldn't do it. I was physically unable. Like, when I fell down on the ski slope on the Bunny Hill in 1993, when I went ski club with Kennedy Christian, guess what? I couldn't get back up. So guess what I did? I went to the lodge and I bought myself a hot cocoa, and I think probably a pizza and maybe even some cake. And that was not the way to deal with it. So here's the thing that I'm saying with you guys, is that you can help somebody where you are right now. So think about that one person. Gary Allenbaugh at Bally's in Winter Park, Florida, asked me one question that forever changed my life, and that has forever changed everyone else's life. Thank you, Travis. You're the best. I've got wonderful calves. Oh, Lord. Thank you, brother. But with that being said, you guys, one person can change one person's life. So you never know the seeds you're planting in someone's life and the things that you say and do to someone. I don't know where Gary is now. I tried to creep him a little bit. I will be honest. So if you guys find Gary Allenbaugh, it's not the same person I found on Facebook. I've tried to find him. I've stalked him, creeped him. I've looked in the obituaries. Like, I've done everything. Like, no offense. But I just really want to go back and give back to him, because he helped me so much and he doesn't even know it. And think about the people who you're helping, who you might not even know it. And I know it's so easy, especially for those of you who are entrepreneurs who might be watching right now, and you might be saying to yourself, oh my gosh, like, I don't even know if I'm helping anyone, or there's only 3 people in my group, or I only did a Facebook Live and 5 people joined. You know what? My thing is, if nobody shows up here, I'm doing it because other reasons. I'm doing it here because God called me to do it. And if one person watches this and one person is impacted, that is my ultimate goal, right? Is to help one other person. And I always say, God, to you be all the glory. So if I'm doing it with the right motives. So those are my questions that I'm sharing with you guys. My one question was, how does that feel for you, right? How does it feel to be 400 pounds? Ha! Like, that didn't feel really good. Just need to be honest. Like, that did not feel good. But you know what else didn't feel good? The chafed thighs in my gray sweatpants. And every time that I got a raw finger from trying to zip up my zipper. That didn't feel good either, right? Going into Lane Bryant and being in the very last size. And I was like, where am I going to go? I'm at 24, 26. What am I going to do? Where am I going to shop? And I'm 21 years old. Like, what was I going to do? So I want to ask you that is, what will you do? What do you want your life to look like? What are you going to do about it? Right? And then who can you help along the way? So I love it, guys. Let me know if there's any questions that you have that you want to add on to. Give me a thumbs up. Let me know. I love sharing with you guys. This was my last week. The whole month of October was kind of designated and dedicated to like my birthday month. And I think I'm going to do some of these flying solo casts. But the month of November, which believe it or not is next Sunday, we're going to be focusing on my friends who have nonprofits because I want to get the word out about sex trafficking and about, the largest population of children in, Uganda has the largest population of people under 18 than any other country. So my friend Suzanne is going to hop on and tell us about that. I think I got that stat right. If not, guess what? That's the reason why I'm having her on. So I've got lots of people coming on to tell you about their nonprofits, but I love you guys so much. I'm so grateful for those of you who tune in and who share this information with other people because I know that there are people who are watching. And I do have my vision board for 2020. So holler at your girl because getting back at it, people, getting back at it. So it's coming to fruition. So make a vision board for yourself. Think about your 5 years down the road. Put that into play. Know that you're loved beyond measure. And we will talk soon. Have a great day and a great week, guys. Final week of October. And eat a Reese cup on my behalf. All right. Love ya.